So I think without further ado, we are going to kick off, and I am going to take you to where you go to set up your classroom and how to navigate Teams. So please let me know if you are able to see my screen with a thumbs up if possible. Good, I'm seeing the thumbs coming. Great. Okay, so the magic place where all of this happens, and this, by the way, if you do not have a Microsoft Teams license, you won't be having access to any of this. Okay, you do need a Microsoft Teams license. The license is free, so as long as you qualify as an educational institution, you can talk to SALT and we can help you set up the subscription for your school. The license is completely free for all lecturers and all students in the school. There is no cost attached to it, okay? So how you access this wonderful place is the magic URL always to remember is office.com. Office.com, okay? And when you go to office.com, it's logging me in automatically now because I have logged in before, but usually it will ask you for a username and password. This you will receive when we or another Microsoft partner provides you with your access to your subscription. So once your subscription is set up from our side, then we will give you your username and password that you can use to access the system. Okay. So by typing in office.com, you will get access to all of the different Microsoft Office applications. If you look to the left-hand side of your screen, there is 9 little dots up there, okay? And these 9 little dots, if you click on that, it will pop out and it will give you all the apps that you have got access to. We are just going to be looking at Teams for now, but this is everything you have access to as part of the subscription. But today's focus will be around Teams because that is the main the main application that we run our educational platform from. Okay. So let's go to Teams. I've opened my Teams over here. And when I open my Teams application, this is in the browser. You can also download the application on your mobile phone using the same username and password that's provided to you. But I'm going to work today in the browser because that's where we mostly work with our free subscription. And this is what you will see when you are logged into Teams. So let's just quickly navigate and orientate ourselves. If we look at the very top on the left-hand side again, you will see there's again the 9 buttons. That is just a place where you can go to, again, get access to all of your applications. Then once you are in Teams, at the right beneath the 9 buttons, there is an activity section. All right. I have, for today's purposes, created a demo environment. So there's not much going on here, but it's just for demonstration purposes. So if you are using Teams already and you're logging in Teams, then you'll see lots of things happening there already. Okay. So the activity bar is basically where you have a feed. Okay. Your feed will tell you, it'll basically give you access to all the activities that are happening in your Teams application. Whenever somebody has a chat with you, whenever somebody shares a document with you, whenever there's any activity going on, you'll be able to see that activity in your feed section. Okay, so that's all activity. So you'll see that Microsoft has really tried to bring in all the functionality that people have been using in separate systems or apps. Like we used to have to use WhatsApp to communicate with our students. But now we don't need to use WhatsApp anymore because we have a chat function built into Teams. So our students can now, we can now chat with our students by using Teams. We don't need to use WhatsApp anymore. And that's a nice thing because it brings all the communication with regards to the students and the lecturers into one place. Okay, so this is the chat function. The chat function allows us to do one-to-one chats or one-to-many chats. So you as lecturers or administrative tasks can have chats with other lecturers or admin staff on a one-to-one basis, or you can chat with your entire class using the chat function. All right. And when we get to the setup of the classes, I'm going to come back because I'm going to show you how you can chat with your whole class once your class has been set up. All right. So this is your chat function. You'll see there is just below the Microsoft Teams in the purple header right at the top, just below that, it says chat. And then you have a little funnel. If I click the little funnel, I can filter by name. And I can also filter with unread messages, messages that are specifically to do with meetings, or messages that have been muted. All right. Now, if I just below the search button in the to section, here I am able to indicate whom I want to chat with. So I can type a name, and if that person has been loaded onto the system, like you'll see here, I've got a couple of cups loaded onto the system. This is the cup class. Then I can chat one-to-one with this specific student or person. So once I've put in the to button there, the cups button, if I navigate to the bottom of the screen, you'll see there is a type new message. And there I can go and type any message. Something very important to note here, and I'm going to use a silly example, but you know that those WhatsApp groups that you have to organize like birthday parties and things. So those WhatsApp groups, they tend to have lots of people on them, and there's furious activity, especially if it's a big family gathering. And then Bob will tell Mary that you must bring the cake, and John will tell Sally that you must bring the potato salad, and so it will go on. And you catch during this chat and you confirm, okay, you're going to be bringing the wine. That's all fantastic. Now this group is very active and you go to bed at night, and somewhere in the conversation it happens that someone else will be bringing the wine and you have to bring the cake. But because it's such lots of messages going back and forth, you miss that piece of communication and you rock up at the party with the wine and there is no cake. So that's quite an embarrassing situation to find yourself in, but even more so in a situation where you are communicating official documentation or communications. And how Microsoft helps us to make sure that whoever that message is intended for, that person will be called upon to see it, is they've brought in the @ mention. I cannot repeat enough how important the @ mention function is, because if you want someone in their activity or in their chat to be notified that they have to do something, and this can be a whole class where you are asking the class, please, you must complete this assignment by Friday, whatever it is, you have to @ them. So how we @ them is literally like the @ in an email. We type in an @ and you will then see whoever is in the chat, it will pop up there with suggestions so that you can, that person, then once you've sent that message, that person will get a little red tick to, or that group or class will get a red tick in their Microsoft Teams to notify them that there is something that they have to go and look at. There's something that requires their attention. So if you want to make sure that your students or other colleagues are actually going to be seeing a message, it won't get lost in the feed like it does with WhatsApp many times, please learn to use the @ function. I'm going to do it just for a group so that you can just see how that would work. Oopsie, sorry, wrong button. So if I do it for a group, then I haven't set up the channel, so I can't do it for a group, but let me set up the class and then I'll show you how to do it for a group. But the add function is extremely important. If you want everyone to know, they need to pay attention. All right. That is basically the chat function. You will also see after you've finished typing, at the bottom of the message where you are typing your message, there is a lot of functionality that Microsoft has brought into the chat function for so that it has a professional look and feel. You will see there is a lot of things here that you normally would see in Word. So your bold, your italics, your underlining. Um, if I just give you an example here, I'm saying do this assignment. I can highlight it and I can actually make it a different color. So all the functionality that you used to have that you have in Word, you can also bring into your chat function. Very, very nice. Then at the bottom, after the formatting options, which is the little A with a pencil through, next to that, you can also now set priorities. So if you want this message to have a certain priority, you can indicate it as such. So if it's a standard message, it will be just sent as usual. You've used the at function, then it will give the appropriate people that little red tick. They know they need to go and read it. You can also mark the message as important, which will give you the little exclamation mark. We know that from our emails. And then if it's a really urgent message, the recipients will be notified every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. Okay. So if it's really urgent, some other urgent thing you need to communicate, then please you can do that from the priorities exclamation mark. Then what you're also able to do is you can attach a file. So next to the exclamation mark, there's a little paper clip. And from here, you can attach a file, all right? You can attach the file from your computer or from another, another location, such as OneDrive. You will see in subsequent sessions, we are going to have a session exactly around OneDrive, and you are welcome to then attend that session. We're going to detail on where OneDrive is and what OneDrive is. But just for purposes of demonstration, I'm going to upload a file from my computer. I'm just going to take any file here, and I am going to attach it. And this file, by sharing any file in the Microsoft Teams platform, you will always have access to that file in Teams. You would navigate to the left-hand side, if you look at the little icons there, we are under the chat one now, but right at the bottom, just before the 3 little dots, there is a file section. And any file that you share on Microsoft Teams will be available in that file section. It makes it really great because now you don't have to go and search which chat, which channel, where did you put that file. Everything that you have shared on Teams will go and sit in the file section. And you will only be able to see files that have been shared with you or with a group you're in or a team you're in or that you have shared. So that's a security thing so that the one class students won't be able to see the documents that have been shared with a different class. Okay. So that is really nice. All of them in files. If I go back to my message at the bottom now, I can see there's my Word document attached there. And to even further control this document, I can actually indicate how can this document be used? So I can control the access. And if I click on the little arrow, which just next to the anyone with a link can edit button, you will see pop out there a lot of different options about who can access this document. Anyone with a link, people in your organization. So even if this document ends up outside of your organization, people won't be able to access it because it will ask them for a username and password. And if the username is not part of your team's setup, they will not be able to open the document. All right. You can also select people currently in this chat, people with existing access, or specific people. Then it goes even further and we can allow editing. So we used to only be able to restrict people from editing our Word and our Excels if we PDF it. Then we know they can't change anything on our document. Now we can allow or disallow editing. And you can even set up an expiration date if this document is only going to be available for a certain period of time. You can set it up. And if you really want to go granular, you can even set up a password. If it is an admin team sharing around sensitive information like salary spreadsheets or whatever, you can even set up a password to make 100% sure that people that are supposed to have access, those are the only ones who have access. And then you can effect all of these changes by clicking on the apply button, and then it will change that document according to those settings. All right. So that was the attached file and the controls around the documents of the file. The next one is a bit of fun. You can add an emoji. By the way, if you have students that you're afraid your students are going emoji nuts in messages, this can be disabled, okay? And if you're interested in that, we can look at how, and I'll show you how a little bit later, you can disable that functionality. I mean, you can go really granular and you can even disable their microphones and their cameras. So you can make it impossible for them to talk. Not so nice in a classroom setup where you want your students to participate maybe, but the options are there. You are able to do it from Teams. Then a lot of other fun things like GIFs and sticky notes. You can add in things like you can schedule a meeting directly from the chat button. We will cover this in the calendar section, but just so that you know, you can also do it directly from a chat. So if you're having say you have a project for a group of students and they are having a chat in the chat function and they are getting stuck, you can just schedule an impromptu little meeting or class so that you can all get together on a call like we're on this call now and quickly discuss any issues that they may have or questions they have. Then you can also link up Stream. So Stream is that little big arrow next to the icon of the meeting. Stream is the place where we manage our recordings. So if you want to record your classes and you want those recordings available to the students afterwards, but you want them available for certain time frames, you want to add captions. Microsoft is really good with students having disabilities or students having issues with devices. Maybe a device doesn't have sound, but then they can read the captions in the recording. That you can all do in Stream. There is a separate session set up for a bit later in the month looking at Stream. We're not going to go into detail today, but just so that you know, all of this functionality and much more is available within the chat function of Teams. The three little buttons will open up the Find a App section, and from there you can actually add applications that are content specific or class or material specific. So if you are having a class about the weather, you can add a weather app. There are hundreds of thousands of apps that you can add into a chat or into a team. And I urge you to have a look at them. There are a lot here that you can do that will make the online teaching experience a lot more easier for you. And I urge you to go and have a look at the apps that are available. Many of them we are going to be looking at during the course of the month, like forms for online testing, praise to be able to send praise or even approvals. But just so you know, you are able to include third-party applications into your teams or your apps. Okay. I am now back at my chat function. So I'm going to send this person this chat. Because I have set at, they are now going to get a little red tick there at their activity and their chat button, and they will know that there is a message they need to respond to. At the top, under the search button, where it says Cups Faith, that's the person I'm having the chat with. We are now in the chat function, but under the file section, there all the files specific to this chat can be found. So all the files specific to this chat can be found here. And I can do a lot with my files here. I can open them, I can copy a link, and I can even download them. All right, so you can do a lot with your files here. Once again, remember we set up the access permissions in our file. If we didn't set it up to be downloadable, it wouldn't, this button, this download button would not appear. Okay. Then you also have an organization tab. This person doesn't have an organization, but you have an organization tab, which will show, especially from a administrative side, it'll show who's connected to who reports to who. Usually the principal will be at the top, but that'll show the organization structure if that's been set up for you. And then there is also an activity section. We don't have any activities currently, so it doesn't show, but there is an activity section. Next to activity, there's a little plus sign, and here again, I can add different applications that are specific to this chat or specific to my class. I can add on with the add with a plus button. And I'll just show you how that looks. Maybe I want to add on a whiteboard so that we can draw together. We'd like to whiteboard something. Then I click on whiteboard, and the whiteboard will be available within this chat to this group part of this chat, who is part of this chat. Okay. So now I have a whiteboard, and we can have a separate session on whiteboard if that's something that you're interested in finding out more as well. It's not part of the sessions currently, but it is a really nifty app, especially if everyone wants to work together and collaborate and draw things. And yeah, it's very good for creative purposes. Okay, so that is how I added my whiteboard into my chat now. If you can navigate your eyes to the right hand side, you will see there is a little purple square with a video in it. I can now do an impromptu video call to this chat. All right, whoever is in this chat, if it's a group or just one person, I can, by clicking that, I can do a video call, and it will ring on their Teams app. So as long as they've got the Teams app open in their browser like this, and we really recommend that that's what you do, that you keep this open all the time, then you can do a video call, or right next to it, you can also do an audio call. So you can phone that person. What's really nice about this is there is a trail so that you can see the video calls and phone calls. You can see who phoned when and where and how long. You can even set up recording functionality with voicemails within Teams. So that is really very nifty stuff. Refresh button next to that is just reloading the tab. If there's changes that have happened and you aren't seeing them, it's always a good idea to reload. And then there's obviously a website section and 3 little buttons which enable you to open in the desktop app, or you can copy the link to the tab if you want to share it with someone. We'll look at links and what we can do with links a bit later on, and then obviously about this tab. So this is the just the chat functionality within Teams. Brilliant for one-on-one, brilliant for lecturers to students, or even students to students if you want to allow that. Then students to students chatting, if they're collaborating on a project, they can use this functionality as well. Okay, is everybody still with me? Any questions so far? Any comments before I move on to the next section?
Vanessa. I just wanted to ask,
Mhm.
is there, I know with Zoom, there's a possibility that when I'm having a chat I hope I'm asking the right thing. When I'm having like a discussion with them, that they can break into smaller rooms for a amount of time. Is it available here?
Definitely, definitely. So I'll quickly switch my screen to our call. So at the very top, underneath the Microsoft Education virtual session, you have the two little icons there, which shows you the participants. Then you have the hide conversation and then the emoticons. And right next to that, you have breakout rooms. And here I am able to set up breakout rooms for my students. So as you mentioned, you want to put them in separate little virtual rooms to discuss something, to brainstorm something, then you can do that. And you can either have it automatically assign them in groups or you can manually assign them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Any other questions before we proceed?
Yes, please, it's Helga Berger. I would like to know, you said that one could load apps at random as you applicable to your teaching. Just wanted to know, is that on UNAM computers, can we do that? Because usually on UNAM computers, one is very restricted in what you can add and how you can access certain stuff. So if you are in Teams, would you be able to access those apps and
Okay.
share them with the student?
Yes and no. So if you're in the browser, like I'm showing you now, if you're accessing it in the browser, usually there's no restriction unless the administrators, in which case that's your IT department, put any restrictions on applications. Then you would not be able to. So you can, for example, the administrators, they can say only Microsoft apps are allowed, or all third-party applications are allowed, or disallow all applications. So if you are running into a situation where you cannot add apps, it will be something that's been set up from your IT department, and you can request them to change that for you. Because these applications are not they are not able to harm the computer because they are all Microsoft certified, and they are work or school related applications. So if you are not able to do it, ask your IT team to do it. It might maybe just a tick box on the back end that needs to happen for you to be able to load these applications. Okay. And then I've got Lillian, I think. Lily, who's also got a hand raised.
Close enough, thank you. So you do not have UNAM administrator rights, and so are we talking this group is not just restricted to UNAM?
No, this group is not just restricted to UNAM.
Okay, then yeah, we need to maybe take it up with our IT people, because for instance, in whatever teams I've joined in now, I don't have the breakout functions, but for instance, I can admit people to the call.
Yeah. So it's a little bit contradictory about in terms of the level of permission. But yeah, just have a chat with your IT team. They will be able to enable all of that stuff for you. And if we need to have a separate discussion with UNAM at some other stage, we're happy to facilitate that. We work very closely with your IT team, so we are happy to work with them to get everything set up like you wanted in your class.
Perfect. Once we know that it exists, then we know what to ask for. Yeah.
Exactly. I always say you don't know what you don't know. Okay, wonderful. Any other questions, or can we move on to Teams? Yeah, I think we're good to go. All right. So just beneath the chat function, there is the Teams section, and this is the place where the magic really starts to happen. Because from here you can join or create a team. Now, once again, if you're not able to join or create a team, it's a tick box on the administrative side that has not been enabled. So some educational institutions do have policies and processes in place with regards to creating teams. Because as you go along, you'll see that by creating a team or creating a class, um, a lot of things happen on the back end. It creates a file section for you in OneDrive. It creates a separate mailbox for you as a team. So sometimes an organization decides that if a team needs to be created, then you need to ask your IT department to do it for you. So if you are in Teams and you don't see this create a team, you just send them a mail and say, either I want to be able to create teams because I need to create a class, or alternatively, you create it for me. They're not always so keen on that creating it for you because then they need to load all the students. So, but it greatly depends from one organization to another. So if you're not seeing create a team, talk to IT. They will either be able to create it for you, or they will be able to give you the permissions to do that. So I'm going to go and create a team now. When I click on create a team, I've got a few options. I can create a class. I can create professional learning community. This is an educator working group, and I'm going to be sharing on email as a follow-up to the session some fantastic resources from Microsoft around the professional learning community, which actually gives you free access to materials from across the world. So I'll give you an idea. They do virtual trips, like, you used to take your students and you go visit the museum. It's now at that level where you can do a virtual trip to the Eiffel Tower or to the mines in the Congo. It's a community that brings together people in different locations in the world, which can then share these resources and this content so that everybody in the world can benefit from it. And especially now with the travel restrictions, even if we could afford to fly the whole class to go and look at the diamond mines in Brazil, it wouldn't be possible. But access to this community allows that. And I'm going to share some of that content with you after the session. Then you also have a section for staff. This is usually your admin. So you have, obviously, schools and universities have got administrative staff, finance, HR, marketing. So you can create a team for that as well. And then there's other. So what we saw a lot, especially with the first lockdown, we had like the Scouts of Namibia. We had a lot of, activity groups that suddenly couldn't continue with their activities. And it was so rewarding to get them on Teams and to have them be able to talk together and virtually do activities. We even have vocational training centers that are giving bricklaying classes on Teams. So it really makes everything possible, and that's so exciting. But for purposes of today, I'm going to create a class. And I'm going to give my class a name. I'll just call it Biology G101. And by the way, there will be a recording made available, so you can go back and review the material. So Biology 101, I'm going to say all things bones and plants, just as an example. And then I will click on next. So now Teams is creating a class for me. So on the back end, what Teams is doing, and that's what I'm saying, that's maybe why you won't be able to create a class, need to work with your IT department on it, is that on the back end, it's creating space for all the files to go in OneDrive. It's creating an email alias specifically for Biology 101, so that when you send an email from your Outlook, you don't need to type in all the individual students. There's going to be an email alias that has got all of them in. So lots of things happening on the back end, but what we're able to do now is we can now add our teachers and students, okay? So I'm going to, just as I think we did that, yep. So I'm going to call convener of the moms is going to be the teacher for this class. And if I go to students, I can now go add my students. add this one. So on, you can also import multiple students at once if you don't want to manually add them. That is possible, and but your IT team's probably going to need to help you to do that. And now that I've added my students to biology, I click on add. And now they will get an email, because they also get an email as part of the Microsoft package. They will get an email in their inbox. So the first thing that you do need to know is to obviously communicate with your students what their usernames and passwords are. And that that's more from an admin setup point of view. You need help on that one. In case of UNAM, the students have it already. It's their student number at UNAM, students.unam.na. But for those that don't have something like that set up, let's connect afterwards and see how we can help you get that, because then they get a specific email address where they get these emails whenever there is movement in their team's class as well. They do get a mailbox, and you get a class mailbox as well. Okay, so now this is my team. I am only able to see teams that I have been invited to or that I have created. So if your teams is looking very empty there, it's security. You know, we can't all, you don't want the students from the one class to have access to the other class. So it's really at the setup, you add the students and the teachers that might need access to this class. And then you will be able to see your class in Teams. Okay, you are able to something very important from a organizational point of view, because it can become very messy if we just dump things in Teams. If we go to files and we just upload files, usually your classes have got different components, and you are able to segregate those components for organizational purposes from Teams. So if I'm at my, just underneath the Microsoft Teams in the top left-hand side corner, you'll see that I see now the B1. I can here change my team picture. I can upload a photo of all of us, or content specific, class specific pictures I can upload there, but I'll show you how to do that in the administrative or settings section a bit later. But I can also, from here, by clicking on the three dots, I can manage the team or add a channel. So here I want to take you back to YouTube just for reference purposes. In YouTube, you have got different channels. The same with the classes in Teams. The classes in Teams, you can add different channels. So for biology, we might have one channel for specifically, let's call it bones. And this channel is part of the class, but it's only got to do with the content of bones. I can add a description, and here I can set up the privacy. So here I can say, is it only accessible to a specific group of people within the team? So I can set it up there, or does everybody have access? Okay. And then I can also, right at the bottom, there's a little tick button there which says automatically show this channel in everyone's channel list. You don't want people to go looking for channels, so you can just add it to their channel list. And when I add it, I will now have a channel. So if you're talking, you want to have conversations specifically in this channel, it's specifically talking about this topic, then you can now, again, with the chat function, about this topic specific, have the conversations, upload topic specific files, and all of that within this channel. Because otherwise your general channel, especially if you've got a lot of different topics in your class, the higher grades or university level, you know, it can become very messy, and you've got a list of files, like 100 files eventually. So classifying them based on the different components or contents or topics just makes it much easier to navigate and find the information and communication pertaining to specific topics. Okay, so this is what you see under your teams. I'm seeing Biology 101, that's my class. And now if you navigate to the middle of the page, you'll see we are in the post section next to general. You've got posts there. Once again, this is your normal chatting functionality like I showed you in the chat section. Here you can now chat. And now if I go at, I can actually at my class. Now I don't need to type in all of them individually. Now I can add them, and all of them will get a little red tick in their activity and chat buttons that there is something there for them to do, so as not to bring wine to the party when you're supposed to be bringing the cake. So I send my message and off it goes, and everyone will now receive it. Okay. Then, like I said, next to post, you have the file section. Here you can upload class materials and also set up a class notebook. All right. So here you can upload class materials. This will be any books, PDFs. I mean, you know what you have in terms of content, and you can upload it here to make it accessible. Once again, you can use the channel if it's channel specific, if it's content specific or topic specific, to do the upload just for organizational purposes, so that not everything goes and sits in the file section of the general tab. The class notebook, very, very fantastic feature. We have a separate session specifically around class notebook. Microsoft uses the OneNote application, and your class notebook is really a place where you can set up. This is now your traditional book that you would take to school, your bookie, that A4 or A5 book. This is specifically what you would bring to school, and you are now able to do that in a digital format where you can have a class notebook that you and a group of students, you and all the students or students can collaborate on together, make notes, add in video. I mean, we're going to go full house when we do the OneNote session later in the month, but that's what class notebook is all about when we get there. And you'll see that you're able to set up who can edit the notebook, who cannot edit the notebook, who can add content. And then there's even a teacher only section and a student notebook. If the student wants to, they're attending a class and they want to make notes, they get their own notebook that is content class specific, where they can make their own notes that no one can see. Okay, so that's really great. Next to class notebook, we have assignments. This is also something fantastic, and we're going to also cover the Microsoft Online the testing and exam application. It's called Forms. We're going to cover that a bit later in the month, but this is really amazing because it allows you to convert your paper exam or test into an online form. And it's even so amazing that it marks itself. And it's a privacy and security built in. So when we do the forms, we're going to look at the assignments and how we can do these assignments. And then here's a grade section where you will be able to see the grades of the submitted tests. Okay. And then again, obviously, there's nothing right there right now. We haven't set that up. And then we have the little plus section here again, where you can add a tab. So Microsoft makes it really easy for you as you on go. You realize now you suddenly the kids need to do something in PowerPoint, or the students need to do something in PowerPoint for you. They need to use a whiteboard. You can just add it into that specific channel for them. Then I'm going to show you now, if you navigate back just beneath the search button in the middle of the purple bar at the top, there's a general section. If I hover over that B1 block, let me just hover enough. General, there we go. You'll see it pops out a little square there for you, which tells you you've got 4 members in this class. And if I click on these on the little members, it'll take me to who the members are. And from here, I can now add students or teachers. So the owner of a team or of a class, that's the person with the most rights. They can do the most things. So usually when a student or a teacher or someone comes back and says, I can't upload a file, I can't see this, I can't see that, it is a rights issue, and you can fix that, or you can ask IT to fix that for you or set it up correctly for you in the members section of your team's application. So here you even see at the bottom here, there's a mute all button. So you can from here just tell the mute the students so they won't be able to back chat or to chat a lot. And you can also, if you navigate to the right hand side, you can add members that will be now students or teachers at any time to your class. Next to the members section, you have pending requests. And pending requests is obviously when someone has asked to join a team by some other platform. It'll pop up here. Here you can manage your channels. So you'll see here is all my different channels and I can manage them from here. If I click on the three dots on the right hand side, there's channel notifications, manage channel, get email address, get link. All of this you can do here and you can even delete the channel. Then next to channels, you have settings, and here you're able to set up a lot of the look and the feel and the access of the team. You can do the team picture here. So if you want to have a specific picture that's related, you can set it up here, which is really nice. You'll see it's updated my picture immediately for me now. Then also, let me go there to settings. Member permissions, what can they do? So your students are your members. You can tick if you want to allow them, for example, allow members to create, update, and remove connectors. You have to go tick it there. So whenever someone says, I can't do something, and you want them to do something, you can go and fix that or set it up for them in the settings section. Guests are people that are external from your organization and not really applicable to the class setup. We don't want guests just rocking up in class. Then we will add them as a member temporarily, but just not as a guest. Yes. Is someone's hand up? Not. Oh, okay. And then the @ mentions really important to make sure that, because that's how people know that you are talking to them or about them, is with the @ mention function. Make sure that is allowed. You get a team code, so you can generate your own code, which you can share with people so that they can join the team. And you also are able to do allow or unallow fun stuff. So we said sometimes students, especially in the younger grades, they can drive us a bit nuts with the chat, what they can do in chat. So here you can enable or disable it. And just below that, you can also indicate your notebook section, how you can set that up, and obviously also tags. All right. That is basically in your class. And each class you will be able to manage in the same way. Okay, so that is it on the setting up, very basic of the class. We are going to look at the class management, the online classes, in the next section in about 20 minutes time. But that is just basically setting up the class, chatting in the class, uploading material in the class. Again, just to remind everyone, we will be sharing a recording of the session later, and we are happy to, Vanessa, there is a hand up. Is somebody's hand up? Does someone want to say something? Denise says there was a hand up. Okay. No hand up? Okay, then I proceed. All right, so just beneath, oh, sorry.
There is a hand up, Vanessa. Jannie
Okay,
Potgieter.
please. Jannie Potgieter, please, please, the floor is yours. Okay, maybe, all right. So Jannie, if you have a question, we will get to it. Maybe he's having challenging with unmuting himself or something, or you can use the chat box. If you are having challenge, yeah, Jannie Potgieter is up. So if you are having challenges, Jannie, please use the chat box. If you are not able to unmute yourself, then you can use the chat box to ask your questions. We will answer them as well. Okay. All right. Okay, so just beneath Teams, we had activity, and we're now on the left-hand side of the screen, activity, we had chat, and we had Teams. Then we have assignments. This is where your assignments will appear when you have created them, and we'll look at that when we look at forms a bit later in the month. This is where your class assignments will appear, and below that is the calendar section. And this really is fantastic because I have been on, I'm part of a school that uses Zoom and Gmail and so on. And I can tell you from experience, managing those links, it's not an educational platform. Okay, so the confusion just adds to the stress. So what's really nice about the calendar function in Teams is you can now set up your classes in a recurring way, and your students can attend them by just going to Teams and into the calendar and join now, similar to what you did today to attend this call. It's literally as simple as going into calendar, and at the top right-hand side, you will see there is a new meeting section. And now you have a recurring class that you have for Biology 101 that you want to set up. You will now be able to add your channel, which you have, or your class. Oops. Don't have to add them individually. Let me just, sorry, that's at the bottom here, add channel. So it'll pop up all my channels, my classes will pop up, and I can now add the whichever channel I want to. General will be all of them, and then you have the content specific channels that you can also have smaller groups if you like. But for this purpose, we're going to add the general one. I can add just below the name of the meeting or class, I can add additional required attendees if there are other people within the school that need to join, or maybe an outside guest that's going to pay them a surprise visit, expert from some other field. You can add that person. They'll get an email to join the meeting, just the way that it came to you today with this call. Then here is the date. So we want to start today. We want to set it up for every day, 3:30 to 4 p.m. It's going to be 30 minutes. And then we can set it up as a recurring class. So if I wanted to be there daily, okay, but we want it only Monday to Fridays, every day, 3:30 to 4, we're going to have this class. And I can now set up this class, and it will be there as a recurring feature. If you navigate your eyes to the top, there's a details section next to new meeting. What is really nifty about it is if we are having lots of students in our school that are attending separate other classes, and we want to make sure that your class is not conflicting with the student's other class, you can see that in the scheduling assistant. So in the scheduling assistant, you are able to see, oh, I can't do this class because there is a physics class at the same time. Okay, which is just fantastic. All right, so now we've set up our recurring meeting. We are going to press send, and now it is going to appear in the student's calendar. And no more struggling with trying to access links with codes. The student can now just go into calendar, and they will only see the classes that they are a part of, and they can join that class by just clicking on the specific class. It will also appear in their calendar. So in the student's calendar, in their mailbox, under calendar, they will now also see these classes. It's being set up quite new, but now you can see in my calendar, there is a 3:30 now set up for this month. And this is my class, and my student can easily just click on the link and not have to put in codes or whatnot. They just need their username and password and access to Teams. Okay, then just below the calendar, there is the call section. Remember, I said you can do those ad hoc calls or video calls. Very good to see. You'll be able to see here all of the calls that you have made. So everything will show you the duration of the call. Who did you have the call with? Very good for auditing purposes. You'll see all of that here. And then below calls, you'll see a file. Okay, so you see files there, and all the files, like I said, will display here that you have uploaded or shared. This is now a new setup for the demo, so it's just not pulled through my file I've uploaded earlier. It will still come. Then below the file section, you'll see there's the 3 buttons, and here you can add the application to be accessible for you in Teams. So I will show you one that I saw, which is really fantastic. I saw earlier today, just for your own purposes and also for your learning experience on Teams. In your Teams, if you click on that, there is a Learn app. And this Learn app will pull now into your Teams, and it will give you access to videos on how all the Teams applications work. So that is really awesome. If you need help on Teams, and this is all short videos, very specific, Teams, Outlook, all of that, you now have it plugged into your Teams by just adding it from the three little dots. Okie dokie. So that is it for our first session. I'm going to open the floor for 5 minutes or a few minutes for questions and comments. If there are none, then we're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll reconvene for the online classes section of today's training session. So I'll quickly open the floor. Any questions, any comments before we break for our 10 minutes? Everybody okay so far? I'm going to stop the recording now so that it's not just one long recording you need to wait through if you want to review it, and we'll start the recording when we reconvene in 10 minutes time. I hope that is good with everybody. Okay, so see you in 10 minutes.